What's up, guys? Before we get underway, I got another comment, or I should say pronunciation, from Teeps. And I commented after he did it. I just think it's funny. I'm just butchering every single name on every single player's name on his team. Doing it unintentionally, obviously. But I guess it just shows you that you are the bigger Kelowna Rockets fan than I am. So I can just imagine, probably celebrating, another victory. He's probably one of those people. It's like, dude, I found like this one guy on YouTube, a Seattle Thunderbird fan, and he couldn't pronounce any of the Kelowna Rockets players' names correctly. It was really weird. I kept correcting him, he still couldn't do it. The humor that comes from social media, I guess you'd say. All right. So the Seattle Thunderbirds end up coming up short by a score of 5-4 in game number 3. I was able to listen to the whole game. Um, and first, before I recap the game, I got a comment from Canuck on Facebook. He said that he didn't think it would be a sellout slash big crowd because this game is on the same night as the Seattle Mariners home opener, and the attendance in tonight was just over 5,000. So don't think that was a sellout, but it was pretty close. So you're kind of half right and half wrong with that, Canuck. So thought you'd be interested in that. Um, so again, Seattle ends up falling to Kelowna 5-4 in Game 3, and then the Kelowna Rockets, because of this, take a commanding 3-0 lead over the Birds in this playoff series, with Game 4 tomorrow. Um, let's recap the game. The T-Birds got off to a fantastic start. The only thing that stunk was they just couldn't put the puck in the net. I mean, I want to say they outshot Kelowna to start the game 7-2 or something like that. They also had a couple of 5-on-3 opportunities. They had about a 4-minute power play. Just Kelowna took 3 straight penalties within about 2 minutes, and Seattle still couldn't score. They did hit a crossbar, which unfortunately turned out to be the difference in the game. And then after that, it looked like Seattle was going to be able to escape the period, not giving up a goal and entering in the second period at a scoreless tie. And then all of a sudden, just their first penalty of the game by Scotty Enzer, a cross-checking penalty, leads to the Kelowna Rockets' first goal of the game, as Ryan Olsen gets his third goal of the playoffs on the power play. Severson and Merkley get the assists, and at that point, it's just unfortunately goes to show you that you know, the common giving up one at the end of a period continues throughout the series. It did happen a little bit throughout the Everett series, but it continues with this series as well. Um, Kelowna actually struck about 25 seconds later as Tyrell Goulbourne ends up. Let me just make sure that is correct. Thanks to Teep's pronunciation for me. Um, but anyway, yeah, Goulbourne. That is correct. Thank you, Teeps, again. So he ends up scoring a goal just under a minute left in the first period, 1903. His second goal of the playoffs. And the Kelowna Rockets ended up going into the locker room in the first intermission up 2-0. 2-0 obviously being the most dangerous lead in hockey. Team's up by 2-0, scores one more. They put the game away. Team who's down by 2 goals, scores. They're back in the game. And the T-Birds, to be completely honest, this came out of nowhere. I mean, I felt the first 2 goals the Seattle scored actually did come out of nowhere, because there was absolutely, like, listening to it on the radio, like, the announcer didn't really get excited, and the crowd wasn't, really, like, on the edge of their seat, and it wasn't until after the puck went in the net where everybody just kind of had this, whoa, we scored. And that's basically what happened for Seattle's first goal. Is Ethan Bear at the 4:12 mark gets his first goal of the playoffs. Just basically put it on net, and it just happened to trickle by Jordan Cook, the Kelowna goaltender. So the T-Birds cut the lead to 2-1, and it wasn't until 3 minutes later, even strength. Tyson Bailey ends up scoring his second goal of the playoffs to give the Rockets another 2-goal lead. After that, Madison Bowie has to score. That was also late. I think it was right after a power play too, for Kelowna. I could be confusing that with another goal, but another Kelowna Rockets. The T-Birds killed off the power play, and then right after the power play expired, Kelowna scored. I'm pretty sure this was the one. So because of that, Kelowna ends up taking a 4-1 lead going into the third period. The T-Birds turned out to be completely out of it at that point. Kelowna just kept pouncing on the puck. Definitely the passing was better than Seattle's. And then early in the third, however, this is when things got a little interesting. Adam Henry, again, just happens to be at the right place at the right time. Gets assists from Matthew Barzal and Shea Theodore at the 144 mark of the third period. Cuts the lead in half again, this time to 4-2. And then Justin Kirkland on the power play scores for Kelowna, his third of the playoffs. Bowie gets the assist at the 6:07 mark, and that was Kelowna's last goal. So now it's 5-2, and Seattle has to score 3 in order to tie. Well, then, Kelowna ends up drawing a 4-minute power play, one for interference and one for high sticking. So double minor penalty. And finally, the T-Birds get their first power play goal of the series as Justin Hickman finds the back of the net. His second goal of the playoffs. Assists go to Russell Maxwell and Robert Litzberg. And this actually ended the streak of not scoring a power play goal, I want to say, since 2008 against Kelowna in the playoffs. Because last year, when Seattle played Kelowna, they went 0-for-27 on the power play, and Seattle was 0-for until Hickman scored on this goal. So now the score is 5-3, and then with an extra attacker, Alexander Delnoff does some work with the help of Matthew Barzal, and Delnoff scores for his fourth goal of the playoffs at the 18:43 mark with the extra attacker. So the T-Birds ended up cutting the lead to 5-4 to make it interesting, but unfortunately, the last minute, Kelowna pretty much controlled the puck the entire time, and because of that, they were able to run out the clock and finish out this game. Shots on goal tied at 32 apiece. So unfortunately, it does come down to the difference in this game comes down to hitting that crossbar in the first period. I'm not saying the T-Birds would have won, but it definitely would have been a little bit different if the T-Birds were able to score on about that 4-minute power play. For the goaltenders, Jordan Cook, he's a beast. I mean, there's so many times where, I'm listening on the radio and the announcer's getting excited and the crowd's getting excited. I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is the time where, the puck goes in the back of the net, and that's not the case. Jordan Cook there were several times where he was just challenged in that first period, and he stood up to it and played very, very well. He stops 28 out of 32 shots. Now he goes to 7-1 in the postseason. Whereas Taran Kozun for Seattle stops 27 of 32 shots. His playoff record now stands at 4-4. Power play opportunity, Kelowna 2-for-5. Seattle was 1-for-10. So Kelowna definitely gave Seattle a pile of opportunities to at least tie this game, and unfortunately the Birds weren't able to do that. Just from my perspective, I know this is kind of a weird analogy, but like when you're a little kid and you walk into the kitchen and you see the cookie jar, and the cookie jar is filled with cookies, and so you try to reach up, but you're too short to get to the cookie jar, and then you go out and get a chair and you climb up on the chair and then you try to reach for the cookie jar and it's still out of your reach. That's basically how I felt while listening to this game. It's like it's right there. Like it was right there. We had opportunities. And then when we finally got back in the game, Kelowna scores and we have to work harder to get back to where we were at the beginning. Another key to this game, again, as I've said before, Seattle just cannot win the second period. They outshot Kelowna 13-12 in the first and 12-4 in the third, but Kelowna outshoots them 16-7, and the sloppy puck handling was the difference in that period, and that's definitely carried over from the Everett series. So, just for whatever reason, they got off to sometimes okay / solid starts in the first. They play okay in the third, but the Birds just for whatever reason this entire playoff series and in some points in the regular season just cannot play well in the second period. It's just I'm only reciting stats, so it's unfortunate. So Kelowna goes up 3-0 in the best of 7 series. Game 4 is tomorrow. I will be listening to it on the radio. Could be the last T-Bird game of the season, so definitely want to hit it up. Just Kelowna showing. I mean, I'm not going to knock Kelowna, and I didn't knock Kelowna going into the beginning of this playoff series. I really thought there was a chance the T-Birds could make a series out of this. I still think there is a chance, just because the two teams split the season series 2-2 in the regular season. But Kelowna is definitely showing me why they are the number 1 team in the Western Hockey League and the number 1 team in the Canadian Hockey League. I mean, they just, it's just, when I listen to it on the radio, it's like it's an opposing player who has the puck, not somebody on my team. I mean, they got a good team. And somehow the Birds are going to have to win 4 straight. I'm not saying it's impossible because I know Kelowna did it against us last year, but it's definitely a tall order, and it's going to start with Game 4 tomorrow. So let's go Birds. Let's try to get at least one. Just take it one game at a time, and hopefully I can come here tomorrow night and say that I probably will be missing Game 5 because it's on Friday, but this could be the last T-Bird game of the season. Not going to close the closet door just yet, but it's a tall order. It's a tall order, and none of my teams have ever made the playoffs and come back from an 0-3 deficit. None of my teams. I've seen it done, and I know it's been done. My Islanders did it in their franchise history, but I wasn't alive. So my lifetime, I've never seen it done. So hopefully the T-Birds can make it first. So we'll see you all later. To all the Kelowna Rocket fans who are watching this online, let's keep it up. It's been great talking hockey with you. And see you tomorrow. Go Birds. Hopefully we can get at least one.